After my baby was born early, I texted the family group chat. We're in the NICU. Please pray. My aunt replied from a charity gala in a ball gown. Nobody came. 5 weeks later, still sitting in the hospital cafeteria, I saw 62 missed calls and a text from my brother. Pick up, it's bad. I answered, and then he told me my grandmother died. I stood there in that hospital cafeteria holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago, and I just said okay, like he had told me the weather. He kept asking if I was alright, and I kept saying yeah, I'm fine, I need to get back upstairs. My son was 3 pounds and 4 ounces and still on supplemental oxygen. I had used up every feeling I had. There was simply nothing left to give the news. The family came together for my grandmother's funeral 4 days later. Every single one of them. My aunt flew in from across the country. My mother's entire side drove hours without hesitation. They booked the same hotel block, coordinated flowers, and argued over the reading order for the service. My aunt, the one who had sent a photo of herself in a ball gown the night I texted the group chat about my son being in critical care, cried so hard at the graveside that 2 people had to hold her upright. My mother stood at the podium and gave a 10-minute speech about how family is everything, how family shows up, how nothing in this world matters more than being there for the people you love. People were nodding. A few were wiping their eyes. I sat in the 3rd row from the back in the same hoodie I had been sleeping in at the hospital. I had not washed my hair. My hands were dry and cracked from the sanitizer I used every single time I entered the NICU. My cousin leaned over during the service and whispered that I looked terrible. I said, yeah, 5 weeks in the NICU will do that. She nodded once and looked back toward the front of the room. After the burial, people gathered at my aunt's house. Someone had ordered catering. There were flowers on every surface and a slideshow of old photographs set to music. At some point, my aunt crossed the room and pulled me into a hug and said, in a soft, relieved voice, I am so glad you could make it. Like I had driven in from out of town for a dinner party. I stepped back and looked at her. I said, my son is still in the hospital, still on oxygen. He has not come home yet. She put her hand on my arm and said, I know, honey. It has just been so hard on all of us. Then someone called her name from across the room and she was gone. I stood there holding a glass of water I did not ask for and thought about the night I sent that text. We're in the NICU. Please pray. I had typed it 3 times because my hands would not stop shaking. My son had tubes coming out of places I did not know tubes could go. He was in a plastic box with a warming light because his body could not regulate its own temperature. And my aunt sent a photograph of herself in formal wear at a charity event. My mother liked it with a red heart emoji. That was the response. That was the whole thing. Nobody called. Nobody came. Not once in 5 weeks. Not a single person knocked on that NICU door. I left early and drove back to the hospital. Sanitized my hands at the entrance. Signed in. Walked the long corridor to his room. Said hello to the night nurse who knew my name and my coffee order by that point. I pulled the recliner up next to the incubator and sat down. His monitors were steady. I put my hand through the small opening in the side of the incubator and rested my finger against his palm. He grabbed it. All 5 fingers, wrapping around just my one. That impossibly small, impossibly strong grip. I sat there a long time after he fell asleep, watching the numbers hold steady. I thought about the speech my mother gave. Family is everything. Family shows up. I thought about the catering and the flowers and the slideshow. I thought about 62 missed calls from my brother, who had been trying to reach me for hours because he did not know how to tell me alone. Not one of those 62 calls had come from anyone standing in that funeral home. I took out my phone. I opened the family group chat. I looked at it for a long moment, then I typed one thing. I did not say goodbye. I did not explain myself. I did not write a long message about everything I had felt over the past 5 weeks. I just typed what I needed to say and removed myself from the group. My son came home 6 weeks later, weighing just under 6 pounds. The nurses lined up in the hallway to clap us out. A few of them were crying. The night nurse, the one who had sat with me through the worst of it, hugged me for a long time without saying anything. She did not need to. My brother was the only family member standing outside our front door when we pulled into the driveway. He had driven 4 hours. He was holding a balloon. He did not make a speech about it. He just stood there. And when I got out of the car, he hugged me and didn't let go for a while. Then he reached into the back seat, looked at my son for the first time and said, hey buddy, we've been waiting on you. That was enough. That was the whole thing.